where you can be very restrictive on players at times to your own detriment. And I think Leinster's coaching team needs to be applauded for going with a guy who embraces risk to that degree in a semi-final where Leinster needed to avoid risk. So they diced a little bit. They took their own risks in selection, but it worked out for them.
Yeah, Alan Quinlan's here. We're going to talk about lots of other stuff. I want to talk about James Lowe first. Not only might not be in the team for the final, we just need to stop that now. Sorry, Jefferson Gibson Park, we like the cut of your jib. That's why it's very difficult for us to cut you, but you're not playing. Because James Lowe, you're playing.
Yeah, he was superb, and he's just so powerful. I think, the way he's scoring the try and the strength he has, and he puts the fear into the opposition when he gets the ball. And
there was one bit where the play broke down and he just picked it up and kind of was crawling along the ground for about 15 metres, and it just gave Leinster enough time to put their whole defence in place, but it was also brute force.
Yeah.
Like sheer brute force.
He's not afraid of that, and you talk about body language and having energy and stuff like that, and he just brings so much, even when the forwards, even if they don't do something good and he thinks that's good, he's running in off the wing and stuff. And I know there's been a big debate about United's body language and work rate and stuff, and he just works his socks off. So he's a guy you want in the team, and he brings so much energy. So I think they'll have to play him. Having Luke McGrath back for sure it gives him a little bit more leeway to not have Gibson Park there, but it won't be an issue next year.
No, because he's Irish qualified.
But I think they have to play Lowe. He's too good.
Would he be straight in the Ireland team at the moment? He probably would, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would, yeah. I think he'd be close to it anyway. That's Stockdale's wing, left wing, so he wouldn't get in ahead of Stockdale at the moment, but he'd be thereabouts.
I mean, he might, you know.
He might, well.
Stick him in and it's suddenly like, hang on a second, he's even better than Stockdale.
Yeah, he's very effective now.
Certainly Stockdale's going to have to raise his game a little bit next year. It'll be like, there's a bit of competition for that. But okay. So let's go backwards, and we can finish up by talking about the final again. I want to play you this. This is Billy Vunipola on BT Sport, and it was certainly something that we wanted to get into a bit of detail with. Have a listen.
And then Vunipola at the end of the week that he's had. An awful lot of headlines, an awful lot of chatter. By some distance, the greatest moment of Billy Vunipola's week. He's a try scorer in the semi-final.
Spoken about your teammates and about the importance of family coming into this week. How did you feel coming into this one, Billy, given the storm that you've been part of, that you somewhat created over the last couple of weeks?
Behind closed doors, I felt a lot of love, a lot of kindness shown to me, and obviously, like I said, I'm very grateful to be part of this team, and hopefully we can just keep this going, keep up what we're doing, and enjoying every minute of it.
You were booed last week, you were booed when you got the ball today as well. Have you got anything to say to those people that kind of felt strongly enough to do that today about your words?
No, I think from my point of view, I'm just, I believe in what I believe in. There was no intention to hurt anyone, never my intention. And like I said, I'm just grateful to be able to play, be able to be fit, and hopefully we'll see those guys in the final.
What do you think?
He should have apologised. He says it's not his intention to hurt anyone, but he did hurt people. So if he's that kind and that gentle and that nice a soul, and his beliefs are one thing, you know what I mean? Like I've said this before, I've said it about Israel Folau, whatever they believe is they're quite entitled to, but they're using social media platform built on being a sports person to air bigotry, in my opinion, and so he should have apologised. The only voice that the crowd have, and the only opportunity for any of those people in the crowd, it's the only opportunity to say anything about it is to boo him and show their displeasure at what he said. Some people say it was very unsavoury and it was wrong and they shouldn't be booing him and stuff like that, but Israel Folau and Billy Vunipola and the other rugby players who've liked the messages from Folau have been offended by it and don't agree with it. And the fan coming onto the field was wrong and stupid. But I just think he should have apologised. Say, I believe in what I believe in, and the toughest week of his life, Jesus, Ger, come on. he brought it on himself, and he had a great chance to say, look, I'm sorry for what I said. I do believe in what I believe, and I'm sorry I've offended people. And, so it's
should McCall have taken more of a role in that?
It's difficult for the coach there. What does he do? Drop his best player, drag it on. They've said they spoke about it internally. So this is his first rap. It's like if the Lowe one in April from Australia, they took him aside and said, don't do this. And it's just this, people talk about freedom of speech, and freedom of speech, of course, freedom of speech.
Yeah, but it's not without consequences.
Exactly, you're going to have consequences.
You reveal yourself to be an ignorant pig. We're going to treat you like an ignorant pig.
If you're a sports person, you have to realise that if you're going to offend a lot of people, and the game itself wants to include people from all genders and sexualities and whatever. That he's someone playing the game, and Lowe is the same. So, I said this, there's no problem with Israel. Lowe going down to his local church and praying every day and going to his church and, even enhancing his beliefs with people around him. But you've seen all the rugby players in Australia who've distanced themselves and said they don't agree with what he said. So they're dividing people in the sport. And, I think he added to it a little bit on Saturday again by banging his chest and kind of waving at the crowd. He'd have been better off just not to react to that, because he's just showing people that he doesn't care. He doesn't really care if he's offended people. So there's one thing, and you can be sorry for offending people and still believe in what you believe in. And I thought he had a chance to apologise and say, look, I'm sorry if I hurt people. What if some of his teammates are gay? What if some of his the academy players and Saracens are gay?
Well, they're going to hell, according to Billy Vunipola.
But he believes that, but he shouldn't be putting it out publicly, and he tweeted, he liked the tweet from Lowe, then he added his own tweet in to clarify. And part of me understands that, he's trying not to offend, but then when you realise you've offended, at least say, I'm sorry for offending. And he didn't say that, and it wasn't the toughest week of his life.
Well, if it was entirely self-inflicted. And I also thought that the coverage from BT there was completely tone deaf. It was like the whole notion that, it's a story of redemption for Billy Vunipola scoring a try, despite the fact that he has helped spread hatred and bigotry around the world at the click of a button. He completely did not take responsibility for his actions or his part in that, and as you say, it has real life consequences for people all over the world. And it's like this great guy has just done this thing to shut these fans up who are angry about this thing. What are they even it was almost like BT Sport didn't know what had happened.
Yeah, and look, it's, to be fair, Austin Healy picked him as man of the match, and he'll argue that he felt he was the best player in the field. There was other people who could have got it, and I think they were blindsided a little bit, to be fair, in their defence. And I've been in that position where something's happened really quickly, like a sending off or a yellow card, or the narrative has changed in the game. But what I do now as a commentator, and what I've learned over the years, is I tend to look at scenarios that potentially could happen, like red cards, yellow cards, erratic score lines, shock results, and I prepare myself for a couple of different stories that what could happen. So I'm not blindsided. So,
there was a good chance Billy Vunipola was going to be man of the match.
There was.
He's their best player.
The mistake, the panel and the commentators and stuff didn't prepare for that, and they were kind of were a bit blindsided. So Billy Vunipola's man of the match. I thought Sarah Elgin, what she asked him was fair, and she could have been harder on him, but she asked him.
Yeah, she opened the door.
She opened the door, and she gave him a chance.
But the commentary around it from the
I was insensitive, I think, a little bit. But I pictured myself being in that situation, and sometimes when you're kind of there, you're afraid, and you overanalyze what you should and shouldn't say, and then sometimes you can say the wrong thing or not get the tone right. So I wouldn't be as hard on the commentators, but I think when you look back on it, they got it wrong, and I think they'd admit that themselves, that it was a little bit insensitive to. So again, if somebody who's gay was watching the game on Saturday and they would be kind of offended by that he wasn't kind of called out and said that we don't, even if they say we don't agree with what he said, and it just they got the...
Yeah, but it wasn't a comeback story. He wasn't coming back from some personal tragedy. He was coming back from liking a homophobic, disgusting tweet.
Yeah.
But it was strange last week, like Friday and Saturday, reading the papers, they were talking that Saracens would use it as a kind of a rallying call, and they were all going to. They were going to build this kind of siege mentality around. And I was kind of saying, how exactly are they going? And even if you look like what Vunipola said there about the booing, he said, well, hopefully we'll see those people in the final. I was kind of going, what exactly? So is he saying he wants that atmosphere again? I don't know what McCall is. It's very strange to try to say, oh, we're going to try to build a siege mentality around it. He's been wronged. Because supposedly they do this a lot in Saracens. I didn't know. They look for these angles where everyone is against us type thing.
It's a chip in the shoulder mentality that they have. They had a great chance this week. They handled it wrong. I think Saracens, it's grand saying, the start of the week, we're going to deal with it internally and we're going to do this, that and the other thing. But
I think English rugby at the moment is rudderless and lacking all sense of moral compass. And I think that this ties into the fact that there weren't enough people at that game, because what they've done is they've diffused all the power to the clubs, while at the same time the RFU is almost bankrupt, despite the fact they own the stadium, which pumps out cash, and they have that massive TV deal from the Six Nations. Something happened in English rugby at some point over the last 10 years ago where they completely lost their way. And now you have all these clubs who are losing money hand over fist to the point where they have to sell a part of their future to a venture capitalist firm to try and rescue the situation and go, no, this is all going to be fine. This is all going to be fine. It's just like 10 years of loss making. And then one day everybody's going to start buying TV subscriptions, which doesn't happen anymore, and rescue this. And it's not going to happen. And in the meantime, we're watching it going, you're saying that it's actually okay for a player to do this. You are saying it's okay because you didn't suspend him. You took no action against him of any consequence for what he did. And now the team are using it as a rallying cry to say, actually, what he did wasn't the wrong thing.
It's going to make us stronger and stuff like that. If I was in the Saracens team, I wouldn't want it to make us, I wouldn't want to use something like that as a motivating factor. I would be uncomfortable with that because they're actually getting behind. And look, stick up for your player and all that, but what he did was wrong. Saracens should have come out and said it's wrong. They did say we don't agree with it and it's been dealt with internally, but they weren't strong enough on it. Yeah, they weren't strong enough on it, and
we're making them play.
I thought he had a great chance to put it to bed. It's going to rumble on, and like I said, there's headlines in the papers yesterday about his brother backing him up and saying he handled it great, and it motivated us and brought us together. It's irritating and it's frustrating to see that, because I thought Gareth Thomas was on Channel 4 the other day and he summed it up perfectly, much better than I can, because I'm not gay. Gareth Thomas is gay and he was highly offended by it. Lots of people were very, very much offended by that whole scenario, and we've allowed this to fester and we've allowed this now to go on again.
And it'll be a narrative for the final as well.
And the stupidity of some people online saying, well, freedom of speech and he shouldn't be fined, Lowe shouldn't be suspended and he shouldn't have his contract terminated. Plain stupidity from him. If you get a warning, if you give me a warning here, Ger, and say, well, don't say this again, Quinny, on air, or you're in trouble, it's compromising our position, and I go and do it again, well, who's the stupid one? Whether I believe in what I've said or not, it's my choice then to either jeopardise my job or not, and that's what Lowe has done.
Yeah.
But Vunipola's comments are as bad as Lowe, in my opinion, bad. Because he's used it publicly, again, built on a social media platform for sport. He's a great rugby player. Keep your beliefs to yourself. You don't have to endorse somebody else. It is creating hate and it has created hate. And rugby wants inclusivity and people from all genders and sexualities to be able to play the game and enjoy it. And I think it's wrong. He had a chance. If he apologised at the weekend, I still believe what I believe, but I'm sorry if I offended people.
Look, I think it's definitely going to be something we're going to come back to as well in the build-up to the final.
Well, it's not going to go away.
No.
Until he does something like that, which he evidently isn't going to do.
And English rugby are not going to step in and do anything because he's their most important player. Like we've seen England play without him. And
does the whole Eddie Jones thing fit into it? Like when I watched England even during the Six Nations, they again had this. They're back to the old kind of 1980s teams where it's, you know, belligerent, a lot of big men, a lot of, you know, they're bullying teams, and it's all about we don't care about anyone else, we're just keeping this in-house, you know, it's siege mentality thing. Jones is spiky to say the least. Like there seems to be a kind of a thread right through the whole thing, you know, of this kind of like, you know, we're just going to keep it all in-house, you know, screw everyone else type thing. Yeah. Whatever happens, and it's all England.
I think the Saracens players should have been briefed on that quickly, even after the game when they went to the press conference and say, look, let's not go down the siege mentality and it's made us tighter, made us stronger. Like their player has come out with divisive comments last weekend who've insulted and upset people and could cause a lot of distress for lots of people. Yeah. And they've come out and said, well, we've used this as a motivating factor to make us stronger. There's absolutely no doubt Saracens are a brilliant team. And Mark McCall is a top-class bloke, great coach, he's done a brilliant job. I know him well, I played with him. He's a brilliant fella. But again, hindsight's a great thing. I think if they look back, and maybe they won't care what I say, what you say, what Anthony or anybody else says. I think it's wrong. They clearly don't. I think it's wrong. I think they were very insensitive the way they handled the whole thing.
Let's move on to Leinster because obviously they're up against Leinster in the Champions Cup final now in Newcastle in not that long, a couple of weeks away now. Leinster put their best performance of the season together. It was their most complete performance. We saw Sexton back at the level that we know he's capable of. Sean O'Brien played really well. Cian Healy played really well. Why the massive improvement in performance from Leinster? Where did it come from?
Because they're good players, I think, and they obviously in the last couple of weeks they blindsided all of us with a strategy and a behind-the-scenes plan. So Leo Cullen deserves a lot of credit for that, and Stuart Lancaster, Contepomi, John Foley, the other coaches, that when they go out and play Benetton and they get a draw and it's un-Leinster-like, even with predominantly second string, and then they played Glasgow and they're beating 39-24, I think. Very un-Leinster-like again when it was kind of 50-50. Yeah. There was half the kind of starters, the top players, and half were second string. And you think, maybe something doesn't look right here. But I think behind the scenes, and sometimes they're already qualified for the semi-final, so they were quite entitled to be planning and waiting and preparing for Toulouse after what happened against Ulster, where they just were underperformed. Ulster overperformed on the day, and they brought huge passion and pride and nearly caught them.
If Stockdale slides in, what happens?
I still think Leinster would have won the game. So at the end of the day, so the pessimism was justified a little bit. It was more, this is a very good Toulouse side. Will they have learned? This is a question mark that I was thinking. Will they have learned from what happened in the RDS in round 5, where Leinster just smothered them out of it, held the ball so long, managed the tempo and control of the game really well, and Toulouse couldn't live with that. And that's exactly what Leinster did the other day. Don't make mistakes, be really efficient at the breakdown, wear them out, defend really strongly, and together double tackle their big ball carriers, and they just did it continuously. So why did they do it? Because obviously they had a plan and a structure, number one. Number two, there's really good world-class players in that team, top quality players who
playing well now though,
have the ability to switch on. See, the worry, Ger, as well, as they were undercooked. They hadn't really played together since the Ulster game. So this stage of the season, do you need all that match practice? Maybe not. They showed that they don't need it. Some teams need to play regularly to get ready and up to speed for the big assault or the big game. But they showed that, like Sexton hasn't played for Leinster this year, and he can go out and play at that level after a really disappointing.
Unbelievable.
So top quality experienced players can do that, and they did that superbly.
He got his 60 minutes in. He's only allowed to play 60 minutes for Leinster anymore, Sexton. What about the quality of service he was getting from Luke McGrath? Did Luke McGrath play himself into the...
Yeah, he was brilliant, and I think his delivery was so flat, and that's what Sexton wanted. But the platform was laid from up front. If some of the Six Nations stuff when Sexton was taken really flat, he was getting smashed because the opposition were right in front of him as well. Whereas if you're getting over the gain line and you've a lot of variety to your game, and the ball is quick, well, it's very hard for the defensive line to meet him head on, very flat. And Luke McGrath was really good. His passing was really crisp and sharp. And
is he the best passer that Ireland have as a scrum half?
Probably.
Is he pushing Murray hard for World Cup? Different player, right?
He's pushing him. Marmion is pushing him, but Conor Murray is still a different player, and he offers so much more than the others. I mean that respectfully. His physical presence. You look at what Conor Murray did on Saturday. Like, he saved Munster on so many occasions with his defensive work. And to be fair to Conor Murray, he's responded really well in the last few weeks and played very, very well. Also, like Sexton. So it's brilliant that those two guys have got their mojo back a little bit. But Murray just does so much.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
There's times there when that quick just distributor would help a team when they're trying to up the tempo and pace. But I still think, But after what happened in the Six Nations, I think both those guys should be still vulnerable, and that'll make them better. And I think that bit of vulnerability has got them to react.
I want to play you this video. It's Sean O'Brien speaking to Channel 4 in what's probably going to be his last game at the Aviva Stadium.
We had to be on our game defensively today, and I thought we managed it well at times.
And for you personally, one step closer to finishing your Leinster career on the ultimate high, that must have been a lot.
Yeah, tough day for me here actually today. Just the last game in the Aviva for me probably, so nice to finish with a win anyway.
Congratulations, Sean. Good luck.
Yeah, I totally came out of nowhere there, the bit where he's the old chin going. It's like,
A little bit, didn't he? Yeah. And he's entitled to it.
Totally, yeah.
It kind of hits you as a wave. When I played my last game for Munster in Thomond Park in 2011, I was thinking, Jesus, I'm going to be all tough here. And it just kind of hits you sometimes where, and it hit him there, and quite entitled to, It's sad after a long time being at Leinster and realising then, Jesus, it is my last game here in Dublin in the Aviva. In the Aviva, last European game at home. It was tough for him. I thought he played really well.
Because we had Rog on earlier on, and he was like, this guy's got another couple of years at test level left. If you're the next coach, the next Ireland coach, surely, and he's still playing, do you make an exception to the rule for him? He's like, he's at the end of his career, he can play London Irish and still play for us. No? I mean, that's
you're opening a can of worms there, aren't you?
Yeah, okay, we'll let it go. But what an amazing career. And also, the quality of the performance of the weekend was right back to the level it needs to be.
He's missed as well.
The story of all the injuries has been devastating for him. And he's still fighting away, and I thought he improved. And you know what? He's the type of player now who needs matches to get back, to get the body working. Yeah. And he was sharper on Saturday, Sunday as well.
And slim.
Yeah, he is, and he was moving a lot better, so he just needs game time, and he'll have an important role to play given that Van der Fleer and Levy are gone for the rest of the season.